If she had only been ugly.
Dom Irrera live from the Laugh Factory.
Thank you,
What
Dom.
do you think of the podcast?
So far, so good.
Okay, well let me give these people a little background on you and I.
Okay.
We worked together for years at the Comedy Store, and you were booking the thing for Mitzi and working there, and all the years we always got along. We're always buddies. Always had good laughs.
Yes.
You never told me you were a comedian. You never even mentioned it, which I think was the coolest thing because somebody said to me, Duncan's doing stand-up in the original room. I said, Duncan does stand-up? They go, yeah, he's really good. I go, really? He never mentioned it to me.
Huh. All those years.
All those years.
Well, when I was a talent coordinator at the Comedy Store, I just started doing stand-up. So I'm not going to tell someone who's considered a legend in comedy, like, I do comedy. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about...
I know. Other legends.
No, man, I just didn't. Of course, I'm
But I
talking
mean,
about you.
you know what I think was so cool of you? Because there are so many people that do open mic and go, oh, yeah, I'm a comedian too. And so it's so much... I just wanted to tell you, I thought it was so cool not to say it and then do it. And then all of a sudden, I'm hearing all these great reports about you.
That's nice to hear.
And do you still do that ventriloquism thing?
I have retired that. I do it when I go on the road, and I'm revamping the thing right now.
It was kind of a dark puppet, right?
Yeah, it's really a dark act. But
that's what's so funny, because you didn't project any of that with my relationship with you. And I always liked you, you know that. We always had fun.
Yeah.
And I would hope that I wasn't a pain in the ass in those days, but...
No, you're great, Dom. You're always cool to talk to.
But it's just amazing. Imagine, like, if somebody, I had to know you like 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah. But I'm not, I never feel like announcing that I'm a comedian that much anyway, because it always feels either puffed up, you feel kind of puffed up saying it, or it just feels weird. And if you say it to the wrong people, then right away they'll say, tell me a joke. And then you're in this ponderous situation.
Tell me a joke.
Yeah, it's a mess. So I don't know. I still don't think I guess if people ask what I do, I say comedian, but now sometimes I just say podcaster.
Yeah. I had a girl, I was in Atlantic City, and a girl got on the elevator. She goes, you're a comedian, aren't you? And she was obviously a prostitute. And she said, and I remember this because she did laugh. She goes, tell me a joke. I go, make me come. And she goes, why? I said, well, what do you do? She laughed and she started laughing.
That's great.
Tell me a joke. Who the fuck wants to tell jokes after you do comedy? My jokes are from my uncle.
Yeah, but that idea of tell me a joke, it's just people who don't understand what the stand-up comedy isn't just that. It seems like that's
what your uncle does, though. He tells jokes.
Yeah.
Guys, listen to this.
Yeah.
Two guys go into, you know what I mean? That's jokes. But
right.
If that was the stand-up comedy, we wouldn't be separated from the pack.
Yeah, stand-up comedy seems to be this. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. How one of the big problems in the world is that everybody sees things just on the surface, and they don't go much deeper than that. So when people think of stand-up comedy who haven't looked into it or spend any time thinking about it, of course they would think, oh, it's just jokes. It's just telling jokes. And they don't understand that it's so much deeper than that. There's so much more subtle and nuanced than just telling jokes, because some people can get on stage and not tell a single joke and be hilarious just by the energy that's coming out of them.
Yeah, it's attitude, it's energy, it's all that, And I understand you've had a big falling out with Rogan.
No.
That son of a bitch. Him and I never got along.
I'm going to kick his ass.
That's right. As soon as I get in shape. I don't get in shape. I'm starting tomorrow. Today I'm just going to eat. No, it's good that you affiliate yourself with Joe. That's a good group, because I consider myself one of the fringe members of the Death Squad.
You are in the Death Squad. I don't think you're a fringe member.
Well, I've been on the radio show as much as you guys, but I love it. And I love that group. I mean, Joey Diaz, Ari, you, Doug Benson, I think.
Yeah, Doug Benson,
but I mean,
Red Band.
Red Band was on the show. But I was thinking, there's nothing similar to anybody. What a group of people.
Yeah.
It
is a funny thing that phenomena happened. It's really weird.
I know. Well, did Joe know you were a comedian back in those days?
Yeah, Joe was the first one who gave me a break. Like Joe,
he's really generous, isn't he?
He's the most generous person I know.
Yeah.
because when I was the talent coordinator, we'd talk on the phone a bunch, and have all these weird. We basically did podcasts before podcasts existed because we would just talk on the phone. No problem. When I was sitting up there, we just talked for hours, about time machines and aliens and DMT.
Yeah.
Exactly what we talk about on the podcast.
Well, you did that television show with him, right?
Yeah. Joe Rogan Questions Everything.
And that was, you were looking for Bigfoot, or
we looked for Bigfoot, aliens. We examined psychics.
Did you find anything?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No, nothing. I mean,
what are these prints of Bigfoot? That doesn't mean anything. Somebody could do that, just stamp one out.
There's just no evidence that it's there. I mean, there were stories that people told. Like one lady told a story that was really gave me goosebumps because it was the most believable Bigfoot story either of us had heard. And she said that she had been on a hike and she looked over and she thought, oh, wow, a monkey's escaped from the zoo. Uh-huh. She thought she was looking at a monkey, and then she was like, oh, shit. That's Bigfoot. I'm seeing Bigfoot,
Excuse me, you're not a monkey, are you?
Pardon me.
Are you?
But that seemed so, it didn't seem fantastical. It just seemed like, yeah, if you saw a primate out in the,
of course,
you would think it's a monkey at first.
I think I would run.
Yeah.
First.
A lot of people who say they encounter Bigfoot, they talk about this sense of terror that went through them. And then also, they call it the skunk ape. Have you ever heard that?
No.
So the crazy thing about the idea behind Bigfoot that's interesting, is that it did exist here. There are skulls of the Gigantopithecus that show that there was some kind of monkey thing that wandered around here, but a long, 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 long time ago. And so people who believe in Bigfoot.
So it wasn't human, and it was in the middle. It was another.
Just some kind of, something in the middle, exactly. Something that just, I don't know, who knows? Something more like us than monkeys, and maybe more connected to nature. And a lot of people get really spiritual about it. They say it's like some kind of there's so many fascinating things people do to try to make something exist that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So Bigfoot can make the sound of a lawnmower. Bigfoot can transform into frogs. Bigfoot can control ravens. I swear to God, people told us all of this.
He can turn into frogs?
Yeah, he could turn into frogs. And he can leave...
His size, or he'll just morph into another size?
He morphs into frogs.
Oh, boy.
And he can... if you're hiking...
I like this podcast already.
He can leave feathers... he leaves feathers in the path. If he's not quite ready to show himself to you.
That? If he's not ready to show himself what?
He leaves.
Oh, good.
The point is, they've created, if you go in the woods, they've made it so that any experience you have in the woods can in some way point to Bigfoot.
Right.
So it's like the Renaissance fair for camping. It just turns your camping experience into something supernatural. And that's why people like it.
But don't you think by now we would have caught one?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with all the scientific advances we have with the infrared lighting and everything else in the world.
It's pretty dense up there, though. I mean, to play Bigfoot advocate, there's a great example of the Australian ground parrot. Have you heard about this?
No.
So the Australian ground parrot, apparently it had gone extinct for 80 years. So for 80 years, no one had seen one of these parrots. Oh. And then one day, one of them just comes waddling out from behind a bush. And
Where
there
you
it
been?
is. Yeah.
Where you been, motherfucker?
Where has it been for that long? No one saw it. Where has it been? And you hear again and again these new species are discovered, which means that for the entire course of human history.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but they're not as pronouncedly powerful and just terrorizing as this giant Sasquatch. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about like birds and fish that in the deepest parts of the sea. I understand that. But I don't understand how we could miss somebody who's only 7 or 8 feet tall.
Well, they just discovered, and I think it was, I don't remember where it was. You can look it up. They discovered an upright chimpanzee hybrid thing that people had talked about that nest on the ground that were... they caught it with one of those traps, like it triggered it, and they took a picture of this giant, lumbering, creepy monkey that, they'd heard people say it was out there, but nobody had ever proved that it was there until this picture. And there's another example that's interesting. I can't remember where it is now. The Philippines. I can't remember where it is, but the natives would talk about these tiny little creatures that had magical powers, kind of like elves or something. Just seems like mythology.
Right.
And then they went into a cave and they found this tiny little skeletons of these creatures. So who knows, man? It's a big world. And up in the Pacific Northwest, the trees are very dense. It's so dense up there. So, and you know, they say...
he's never spotted in like Philly, New York.
Never.
So, but I didn't think our forest was like as dense as like the rainforest, the Amazon, or any of that.
It's dense up there, Dom.
So you and Joe went there.
We went squatching. We were in the woods looking for Bigfoot with drones, flew drones up in the sky.
Really?
Oh, yeah, we did the whole thing. God, I wish we'd seen a Bigfoot.
How cool would that be? It would change your life.
It would change history.
I always wanted to be probed by aliens.
I could make that happen.
Really?
Yeah.
You know you connected?
I know some dominatrixes that'll dress like aliens.
Oh, sure. Have you been to a dominatrix?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to I had a dominatrix on my podcast. I had a dominatrix on my podcast, and because I wanted to see if I liked it, getting like paddled and humiliated, because it's like...
I always end up hitting back, which ruins the whole fantasy. Hey, fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool, if you find a fetish, you're kind of lucky. If like that's the thing that gets you off, if you're one of those lucky few who can just pay somebody a couple $100 to like walk you around by your cock and like electrocute your nipples, and that's gonna fill you up for a week.
God, it reminds me of home when you talk like that. Well, I used to get a lot of prostitutes before I started taking blood pressure medication. Now I'm just like normally horny, like want to go like 3 or 4 times a week, but not 100 like a monkey. But that helped me. It helped me concentrate on other things.
So you were constantly horny.
Yeah, constantly.
From what? What's the condition?
It's called being Italian. I don't know. Italiano. Hey, I got some balls. I got meatballs. Well, you're not constantly horny?
I am. I do have there's always a kind of underlying level of horniness that runs through you. And it's a kind of, it's a hilarious appetite, because it's one of those appetites that all the other appetites, thirst, hunger, all the appetites, you can talk about it. I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. And you can buy water and food. But that one appetite, which is a real appetite, which is the appetite that keeps our species on the planet, you're supposed to feel kind of ashamed or dirty or creepy if you get overcome by it. It's really fun, though.
Yeah, but the dirty, creepy thing is what makes it more fun. I think if it was totally out, it would be less sexy. I think it's like we're sitting here and you just get horny and you start jerking off like a monkey. It would be like, but the idea that it's all sneaky and like the whole thing with prostitutes for me was the drama. And I sent many of them away because they lied about what they looked like. Always some girl's car broke down. One time they sent me...
I'm sorry, you sent them away?
Yeah. And this one girl said to me, it was in Vegas. She says, well, I'm going to call the security. She says, I'm going to, you got to give me $100 even if you don't want me because I came out. I said, I'm not giving you $100. And she said, well, I'm going to call... I said, call whoever you want. I said, want me to call security? Tell them to come up? But they promised...
You're like the Simon Cowell of
no,
prostitute
no, but it was like they wanted a Swedish... I wanted I was in one of those moods, like the big, shapely woman. And I got like this little black chick with a Harpo Marx wig on, like a red, curly Harpo Marx type wig, an afro. It was a wig, though. It was funny. She was cute, but I didn't want her.
It's just not the kind of pizza you ordered.
Exactly.
You didn't want to hurt her feelings.
I wanted gluten-free.
Yeah, and you got sausage.
I got fucked. But I didn't let it
You didn't
bother
get
me.
fucked.
No, I didn't get fucked. But have you been to legal places?
The only encounter I've had with prostitutes, and I think this does fall into that category, is I got jerked off by an Asian MILF at this massage parlor that I went to. And it was a blast. The whole thing was fun. It's like, because I'd never done that before, and it's like you realize that it's not just the act of getting jerked off, it's the lead up to it. It's the whole process. You feel like this criminal. You're like, can't believe you're going to...
Was it legal where you did it? Or?
It was illegal where I did it.
Where was it?
It was in Eagle Rock. I think it's illegal in Eagle
Rock.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna tell me some exotic place. Oh well, if it was in Eagle Rock. When I first came out here, I used to go to them sometimes, and I went to one. It was the funniest thing. This was in the early '80s, so they were not using rubbers all the time, especially for blowjob. And this girl's blowing me. She's really pretty, and she's on her knees, and she goes like this. It was the fucking sexiest thing. She takes my dick out of her mouth. She goes, "Oh, Mister."
Wow.
Mister, though. It was so sexy.
Pretty
She called
hot.
me Mister. And she just gobbled it up.
Wow.
Anyway, great to be here on Dom Irrera, live from the Laugh Factory.
Hey, kids. I don't know. I've never had paid for like sex or a blowjob before. But I think that it's, I do understand why people do it. And I don't think that it's necessarily an
I
evil
always
thing.
love these guys. They go, we always pay. We pay one way or the other. I mean, no, it's not the same.
It's such a different thing.
Yeah.
But ethically, sometimes I wonder what's more ethical, because when you consider like people who get really into like what's it called, the game, like the pickup artist people whose entire job is to lie to women, to kind of hypnotize women into fucking them. That's a dirty transaction, because if you're misrepresenting yourself to somebody and making them feel, if you're just misrepresenting yourself so that you can put your cock inside of their body, you're lying so you could be as close to them as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I think that's immoral compared to a nice, clean transaction with somebody where there's no dishonesty happening.
I mean, I feel the same way about, a lot of things. Like, I was one of these guys that was always an advocate for legalizing pot, and I don't even smoke.
Right.
And I definitely think prostitution should be legal, and I don't care about as much about them as I used to, when I was more addicted to it.
It should definitely be legal because it needs to be regulated so that...
and the government makes money on taxes. They're always fucking whining about not having enough money. Look at the money like Colorado's making now on pot, the tax revenue.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fucking stupid. First of all, you're going to do it anyway. It's not like so, and then it causes all the trouble getting all these seedy people involved.
Well, you're dealing with, a lot of people think that
intended.
the reason that marijuana is illegal is not because of a lack of revenue. It's just because of where the revenue's going currently with marijuana laws is going to the prison industrial complex, and they have a lot of really powerful lobbyists who need to keep these kinds of crimes happening so that they can fill the prisons up and make money. Because every time these for-profit prisons...
I always thought that. I believe that totally.
That's 100% what it is.
Yeah, because we would put them out of business.
Yeah, that's it. It would...
The tobacco, those guys...
I think the tobacco company...
not the companies, the federal agents. Something in tobacco.
The ATF.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that people who really are going to be hurting from marijuana legalization are the prisons mostly. I think that there's always going to be reasons to storm into someone's house and take their shit. But if you want as many of those as possible, if you're a house stormer who steals people's stuff, because when you bust somebody for growing marijuana, you don't just put them in prison. You clean out their bank account. You take their property.
Yeah.
You get to take everything. You remove their kids from them.
Unbelievable.
You put their kids in foster care. You get to basically just deconstruct a being's life, and then you make so much money from that.
Right.
And also, a lot of those guys, they will take the marijuana and sell it. And there's, I don't know if you remember this, but a CIA plane was found with all this cocaine in the back of it. Yeah, because when you're running covert operations, you can't use taxpayer money without people knowing what the operation is. So the best thing is to sell drugs and make money to run your operations. That's all documented. But yeah, I think that it's the problem once the genie gets out of the bottle, like it currently is that people start getting rich from it, and everybody wants to get rich, and then their lobbyists, then they have enough money to get the same lobbyists the prison industrial complex has, and then suddenly we win and marijuana becomes legal.
Well, the biggest bullshit is the gateway drug.
Right.
Like it's going to lead to heroin and this, and that's such a fucking bullshit thing, It's like, it's the analogy is so bad. It's like we know that we might have like a certain habit in life, but like eating a little candy is not going to lead you into eating a big cake that night. It's not going to. I don't know anybody, and I know a lot of weed heads, and some of them are depressed and withdrawn, and some of them are happy. So much is inside of what's inside of you.
Yes.
But I don't know anybody. I don't know one person who went from marijuana to heroin.
Well, I imagine anyone who's shooting heroin has smoked marijuana. Like, I'd be really surprised to meet someone who does heroin.
But I'm not. All I'm saying is I don't think it's a natural gateway.
I don't think it's a connection. I don't think you smoke marijuana and then you're like, God, this is great, but man, I got to try fucking heroin. This marijuana's good.
It's not doing it for me anymore.
Heroin's got to be great. Well, I think that is a lot of bullshit. And I think that even if it weren't bullshit, I think that even if it were a gateway drug, you still can't legislate it because I think people get to put whatever they want in their body. The idea is there are already laws that exist for pretty much everything. So if you're high on a drug and you break a law, then you should face the penalty for whatever law you broke. You don't need to legislate. You can't legislate states of consciousness. And that's what the government does, is they try to keep people from feeling certain ways. And you can't do that because this is your body and you get to put anything you want to into your body. It's yours. No one owns it.
I got a good question for you because I saw a thing on 30 for 30 or one of those sports shows on ESPN. They were talking about the First Amendment rights. Because a lot of times, like, kids at a college will start, like, cursing at, like, one player went after a guy in the stands. At first, he thought he called him like a nigger or something like that, but I think it wasn't. I think it was downgraded to a piece of shit.
Right.
But it was whatever it wasn't good. But one lawyer was on saying we have a right to say anything we want to anybody, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't think you could just go up to somebody and call them a faggot. I don't think you could just like, hey, you're a faggot. It's like, what do you think about the freedom of speech thing?
You can't legislate it. I think you have.
Well, you can't legislate it, but I mean,
you have a right to say what you want to anybody, and there's going to be repercussions if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Yeah.
But you can't. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, you get to say whatever you want.
But it's at these games, these kids are all put together, so they're in unity, and they're calling this guy whatever. I mean, I don't know. I usually think that we should totally have free speech, but of course I think somebody should go up in the stands and beat the fuck out of them.
Or just throw them out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the right of a private business. If someone's yelling something.
That's an intelligent answer. More intelligent than mine, by the way. Let's go.
Well, no, I mean, the instinct is that you want to punish people like that, but yeah. I think that there's people have really confused the people who don't think about. Most people just don't think. A lot of people don't think about this stuff. They don't even. I don't think they contemplate it that much. And a lot of people think that the reason that there's laws against drugs is because the government has some interest in protecting us. Like there's some kind of desire
like
to keep
paternal,
this. Yes,
taking care of their children.
When that's not it at all. It's just it's the form of the mafia. They want to be in control of all power. And one form of power is drugs and the ability to drastically and instantaneously shift your mood state and your consciousness. That's a powerful thing to be able to do. And because it's the job of a government to be in power, they don't want to give that to anyone. So they make it illegal. And also, I can't remember the name of the study in particular, but they did a study and they find that people with a higher IQ tend to experiment with drugs. Mm-hmm. And so one great way to filter smart people out of your society, if you want to keep a lot of dumb people milling around, working shitty jobs and paying taxes, is you create bullshit laws. You make things illegal that aren't illegal at all that will draw smart people in, so then you can send them to jail and take them out of the population. Because the last thing you want is philosophers or people who are autonomous wandering around your hamster cage telling people that they get to feel however they want and do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting other people. You don't want that. It doesn't work.
This ties back to a thing I was watching the other night because we were talking about the Sasquatch and aliens and probes. And there are people that theorize that Einstein's mind was invaded by aliens and that was there, and they wanted to wait till he died to come back to Earth. I love these theories.
Wow.
Yeah, and because his mathematical level, there's one guy from India who's considered the greatest mathematician in the world today. They were talking about certain brains, and I don't know, for some reason, I guess because of the Sasquatch thing, it keeps recurring in my mind. Like, how much do you believe? Like, do you believe there were ever aliens here?
Well, yeah, I think you have to define what an alien is.
Somebody from another planet.
See, that's the thing, because like another planet. Well, why does it have to be another planet?
Well, someone from off. Maybe an alien would be somebody we haven't discovered yet. I wouldn't consider them an alien. I consider them something we haven't discovered.
It's the idea is there higher intelligence than human beings? Is there higher?
I hope so.
I think there has to be. Yeah, and I think that when you consider some of the greatest ideas in human history, the people who had the ideas, it's not like they squeezed the idea out of their brain. It's just the idea popped in there. Like Tesla had a hallucination where he saw a diagram for creating a specific type of alternating current generator. He saw this in his mind. It came to him in a flash of light. He had a vision. And then if you go back and look, so many other world-changing people had visions that they were able to successfully articulate. And their articulation of it drastically shapes history.
Well, that's how I got the little Petey, big Petey bit.
There you go.
It came to me.
Aliens. Well,
it had to be. It's too brilliant a bit, Duncan.
Dom, I love to think, why not? Why not? Why not? Why can't our great ideas come from some higher intelligence?
I'm not giving some fucking green bastard credit for my writing.
You stole my shit, man. You stole my shit. I think that's the reason why in like old Greek poetry and Greek myth, and when anyone's telling a story, they do an invocation to the muse in the beginning. They actually pray to a higher intelligence to allow them to be a conduit for the information to flow through them. And, who knows what it's coming from? Is it the earth? Maybe the earth is like using us for something, and so it like sends out just a frequency.
Like there's a consciousness on the earth that it's on a different level than us.
Yeah, and people, if you tune into that...
This is a very heavy podcast for the Laugh Factory.
If you tune into that, then you'll get these great ideas. And the difference between people like Tesla and people like, somebody sitting in their apartment smoking a bong and having visions is that Tesla was crazy enough to actually try to build the fucking thing.
Right.
How many people out there right at this very moment are having these huge ideas that are coming into their brains, things that could probably change the world, but because they're afraid or because they think that they're limited, they just don't try it. They don't even try it.
Right.
Or how many times has a joke popped into your head and you haven't tried it?
I know. And you know what pisses me off about that is when you don't write them down and you think you'll always remember it, and you go, "What the fuck was I thinking last night?"
Just gone.
It's gone. And
It's just gone.
I had a whole bit last night and I really know that it would work. I know it. And I was on the plane. And I said, "Oh fuck it, I'm not going to forget this." I have no idea what I was thinking. I was drinking. Do you drink?
Yes.
I was drinking pretty heavy, because I want to stop drinking, which makes me drink heavier.
Yeah.
Like this is my last one.
Yeah.
And I just had this whole thing out, and boom,
Gone.
like a puff of smoke.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the same thing, and it's a waste. For anyone, not just comics. I love the idea of just getting into that habit of carrying a notebook around. Or this is why I like phones now.
Yeah.
You can just pop it into your phone.
Yeah.
But these are like fishing nets that are catching these things. Because what's an idea? Ideas are fascinating. You want to talk about aliens? What's an idea?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of alive, kind of not
it
alive.
It is. It's a floating, living little thought, and
Yeah.
with a tail.
With a tail that just
That's true.
swims through your brain
Yeah.
for a second and then dives into some other person's brain. And this is why there's this amazing phenomena that happens where people will have the exact same idea at the same time in different parts of the planet. Like Darwin is the one who gets credit for the theory of evolution, but there was another scientist that came up with a very similar idea. And that happens all the time.
Well, that happens with jokes.
Happens with jokes, too.
It's funny that the group that Joe has assembled around him, one of the things, even though they're so different, what they all have in common is they don't change on stage. They don't go into an act.
Right.
They're all the same. You know, like when you see Ari, he's the same as he is on stage, which to me it's like, you know, like I remember Emo Phillips and guys like that. You know, God bless him, he did great and all, but he would go into this character that I was in it. You know what I mean? And it's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I saw a kid the other night, and when I first saw you, I thought, wow, he's so relaxed. Do you imagine what it was like from my perspective to see you as like an act that was doing well? And not only just as an act, but it was doing well.
Thanks, Dom.
No, but it was so. But I mean, it was cool, you know, because I always liked you, you know that, and I'm like, holy shit, you know. Like it only happened one other person, Alonzo Bowden. Alonzo Bowden was a bouncer here.
Yeah.
And I had no idea he did stand up, and he gets up one night, and he's doing really well. I go, man, that fucking bouncer's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's a problem with like when I took that job as a talent coordinator.
Yeah.
I remember Don Barris took me to Carney's.
Because he spends.
And he sat across from me, and you know how intense that guy is. And he looks at me, he's like, Duncan, if you'd become the talent coordinator, you will never get spots here. You will never get to be a comic at the Comedy Store. People will not think of you as a comic. It's a terrible mistake that you're making because I think you're funny and you shouldn't do it. And I remember thinking he was fucking with me or something. You know, I was just kind of like, I don't know, man. I could take this job, but I feel like it's something I have to fight. I have to work harder. You know, because I do always feel like I got shoved into that category.
Well, you're so past it now, though.
I'm past it for sure, but at the Comedy Store, you know, there's still this feeling of like, I know that no matter what I do, people are going to remember me as a talent coordinator and not think of me as a comic, which is fine.
Yeah, but they should judge you on what they see now.
That's right. But that's the problem with, you know, categorizing anybody, man. There's shoving anybody into a cubbyhole, but especially yourself. Didn't Lenny Bruce say something like, I'm not a comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce? Something cool like that. It's like, I love that idea of not identifying with your goddamn job. It's like, you know, that freedom of like, yeah, this isn't what I am. I don't really know what I am.
Well, there was this old comedian who helped me out a lot. Old in the sense, I mean, not only chronologically, but like he was old time. His name is Red Buttons. You know?
Sure.
Okay. So I didn't even know that he knew me. I was doing a benefit for AIDS downtown. His son came up to me and goes, my dad really likes you. He wants to talk to you. I said, your dad knows who I am? He goes, oh, yeah. So I call him up, and he goes, Dominic, he goes, don't paint yourself into that Goomba corner. He says, be a comedian who happens to be Italian. Don't be an Italian comedian. I thought, what a great way of looking at it. Because, you know, like, well, you know this, no matter who it is, whether it's Jewish guy or Irish or a black guy, man, and the white man said this, and the black guy, it's all that juxtaposition of, like that joke of like cats and dogs, L.A. and New York. It's the same shit, you know?
Yep. And when you see a comic transcend that, you know, and do that thing where they're just, I don't know what it is. You know, it's just,
well, you don't even have to like verbalize it because you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Like I watched Dove on stage, and he's just himself. I mean, he exaggerates a little. He gets a little silly or a little, but you know, I love. I mean, Joey Diaz couldn't be more fucking real.
Exactly, man. And I think everything's moving in the direction of authenticity, and I think that's why podcasts are doing so well right now because people.
I love podcasts.
I do too.
I love the freedom of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great disservices of TV as a medium is that it's given people the impression that human beings are not fluid and that human beings don't change, because over the course of watching Bill O'Reilly or Jay Leno or watching any regular host of a show, it tricks you into believing that we stay the same all the time.
Right.
And they have to stay that way because they are Emo Phillips. They're boxed into this character, and the moment that character changes, the ratings drop because it's like, he's having a nervous breakdown. You know, like if Bill O'Reilly came out for once instead of just being this hothead who knows everything and really let people know who he truly was, whatever that guy is, that would be the greatest gift to the planet.
It'd be so interesting to see another side of him, yeah.
Yeah, instead of this mask that he's wearing. And podcasting and comedy, what's really cool about it is it gives you the chance to just be yourself. And I think people respond to that because most people out there, they don't feel very together. They don't feel sane. They're not walking around with this sense of like, yeah, I've got it all figured out. Most of us feel lonely, insecure, terrified. We're addicted. We're alcoholics. We're heartbroken. We're miserable. And if we're not miserable, if
I
there's...
didn't know you knew me that well.
You're a human, are you?
Yeah, kind of.
That's what
Have you
it's...
seen my act?
You're human, and that's like what it is to be a human being. First noble truth of Buddhism: life is suffering. And when you watch TV, for a lot of people, the only access they have to other people is through TV. And when you watch TV, you see American Idol, or you see a soap opera, or you see all these people who look so good. And they are so fucking happy. And they're so together and so sharp and quick. Yeah. It's like, wow, I must have senile dementia or something. Like, I must be crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like, no.
What a loser I am.
Yeah.
For not being them.
I'm not symmetrical. I'm too fat. I'm too thin. I don't have a girlfriend like that. My marriage isn't functioning like that. Oh, fuck, my life must be falling apart. And so the whole world, the whole country is operating in this guilt level, which coincidentally is exactly what you need to be like if you're going to fall prey to buying a car that you can't afford. Because if you can induce in a country this sense of shame or guilt, or make them feel like they're missing something by putting in front of them a parade of very successful, symmetrical, beautiful, together people, and then you, in the middle of these shows, you show a car commercial and you almost present it as this balm, like, wait, this is it, man. Yeah. See this family buying this car in the car commercial? Look how happy they are.
Right. That could be me.
Yeah.
I could be happy like that.
Yeah.
Duncan, I never thought I would go to this during this podcast, but I think you should get out of comedy and be teaching philosophy at Harvard.
Thanks.
Fuck this comedy. You're being held back by it, I'm telling you.
I love talking. I love comedy, though. It's so fun.
Well, I was on a radio show this morning, and I didn't know it wasn't a podcast. It was iHeartRadio. And I didn't know you weren't allowed to curse or say stuff, and they stopped me right away. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even something that bad, but, you know, that's what I love about this. It's like unrestricted. Fucking tell me how you feel. Tell me, you know.
It's beautiful, man.
Bad mouth who you want to bad mouth. And you know what's cool about my show? You have the right of editing. So, like, if you say something that you weren't pleased with, it's gone.
Yeah, I do that on my show, too, man. And that's like one of the... I think what a lot of people are wondering now and thinking about is like, how do you take a podcast and put it on TV? Is it even possible? Is it like?
Well, this is on. I mean, this is not on TV, but this is
on the internet.
But we have cameras.
Yeah,
you know that, right?
Yeah, I know there's video, but the I'm saying, how do you take this and get it? Like right now we have The Tonight Show. We have Letterman. We have the guy who took over The Tonight Show. What's his name?
Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon, right? You have all these shows, and it's just so, they're having, if you consider the conversations they're having, it's the worst conversation anyone ever had.
There's nothing worse than like a really boring, beautiful actress, because she's beautiful, and you look at her and you go, oh, she's beautiful. And then after about a minute, you go, boy, she's boring.
Right.
You know.
And there's little trite little stories that they came up with their publicists that they tell. And it's sad because everyone there, the beautiful actress is probably really interesting, but she's fucking terrified. She's on Jimmy Fallon. She has 4 minutes, maybe 6. Yeah. 6 minutes to come across as funny or interesting or to get some laughs. If she doesn't get laughs, if she bombs, it could affect her career. If it affects her career, she could spiral into catastrophe. So these are terrified people pretending to not be terrified, acting like they're in the most normal environment ever, when really they're in this. People are shooting at their feet and making them dance. It sucks. I guarantee Fallon is a dark, interesting, cool person, but he's got to put on this thing, and everyone on the show's got to put on this thing, kind of entertaining.
Well, I felt that's what happened to Leno. Kind of entertaining. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, I think you're right with Leno. Yeah,
because like to me, like Leno, when he had a beef, he would go and he'd have his complaining. He was nasty and funny with the Letterman. Then he gets a Tonight Show, and all of a sudden he's like milquetoast and appealing to Ames, Iowa housewives whose husband didn't come home from bowling yet.
Yeah, and it's a decision you make as a comic. It's a decision you make, and there's a decision a lot of comics make, and that is the decision to place authenticity down on the scale of what's important and put money at the top. And the moment that you do that, the moment you make that mental decision or subconscious decision, it is exactly the same thing as selling your soul to the devil. It's just signing a little piece of paper, which is like, I am going to pretend to be this thing that I'm not in front of millions of people every night, and I'm going to do that because I want to make a shitload of money. And
well, it is selling your comedy soul, and that's what I've said about Jay. And Jay was a great comic, and I think he's a decent person, you know. But I don't mean to I hope it doesn't come off like I'm bad mouthing him. But I mean, I tell guys your age, you know, he's a really strong comic. They go, really?
that's what I hear.
You know, and people are like, and I understand from your point of view why you wouldn't know that.
No, I've heard it, and I think he just got sucked into something, man. And
it was his dream. He was obsessed with being at the Tonight Show, hosting the Tonight Show and all. And you know, he told me something pretty funny as the show was waning down. He said, you know, I watched Fallon the other night, and he had Justin Timberlake on, and they were singing and all. He goes, I can't do that. You know, that's a different show. Right. And he was right. I'm thinking, you know, most of us can't do that. Most of us can't sing at the same level as Justin Timberlake, you know, but it is a different thing. It's more vaudeville-ish, you know. It's not comedy. It's everything.
I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I think that I'll tell you, one of the most terrifying and creepy things I ever saw was when I was dating Natasha Leggero, and she's doing one of her comedy specials. I really admire Natasha because she always gets in trouble. Like, she's always having to apologize for something because she's not afraid to say shit that a lot of people are afraid to say. But, you know, if you're doing a Comedy Central special, it's got to go through S&P, Standards and Practices.
Right.
So I remember sitting with her. We're in this boardroom. There's all these people in suits, the opposite of comedy, very stern look. They're all, and they've got her act printed out, and they're going through it line by line. Do you have to say this? Is there something else we could say here? You have to remove this. You can't say that. And there's all these rules that they have to abide by. And I remember watching it and realizing what I'm seeing here is like the exact same thing that a water filter does by removing contaminants from water, only this filter is removing comedy from comedy.
Yeah.
It's like the same. What do they call it with milk? What do they do with milk? They're pasteurizing. That's what they're doing with comedy. And then you think about that so that people watch a Comedy Central special and they think, oh yeah, this is what stand-up comedy is. And they don't realize what they're getting is this thing that has had its life slightly removed. A little bit, it's still there. It's like that Indian in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
Lobotomized, but still an Indian. Still something there, but it ultimately needs a pillow shoved over its face.
We did a pilot for Comedy Central. It was a teaser, and they really liked it, and it got picked up by ABC. So we wrote it. Me and a bunch of comedians that you probably don't even know, but John Mulrooney, you remember him?
I know the name.
Yeah, well, anyway. Point was ABC got a hold of it and just sucked the funny out of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. They're worried about morals, you know, making a moral out of the story and the sentimental thing. And I'm thinking, just be fucking funny. Who cares? You know, you have to get sappy.
Yeah.
The sappy comes, make it because it's real.
You get this, you can kind of look at like what we were talking about originally, that minnow of thought, that minnow of inspiration that comes into your brain.
Oh, yeah.
That's like God's come. God jizzes into your brain with a great idea.
Oh, my God.
And you take that idea.
Cut that.
You take that idea and you give birth to the idea. And that idea is a show. It's your comedy act. It's your set. And then that idea, that's a little baby. So in the old days, you would have to take that little baby if you wanted it to grow up and pitch it around town. You know, you pitch a show, you get someone to like the little baby. And then what ends up happening is that little baby, they start mutating it and mutating it and mutating it so that it's no longer following its genetic predisposition that it originally started out as, but now it's conforming to a paradigm that is only designed to sell cars. And it's sad, which is why I love it when True Detective is crushing on HBO right now. And on Netflix, you know, these series that they have on Netflix. Yeah. And all these series are doing so good when they've been removed out of the network environment where they have to sell shit, where it's subscription-based. And the moment it's subscription-based and you don't have to like, you don't have to be afraid of pissing off a major car company, then suddenly shit gets so good.
Well, that comes back full circle to this, to podcast, because we are finally able to let people know what we're really like, what we really think, and we can say whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's not an act. If funny things come out, great. If serious things come out, great. But it doesn't have to be, boy, I'll tell you, you people here, you're the craziest drivers, and you're crazy. We are crazy drivers.
Yeah.
And a highway, fill in the blank. Boy, you're 395. Whoa, it's like the same shit.
Yep.
I mean, I'm glad that I'm glad I wasn't a good enough writer to make it so tight that it looked like a script. Just make it. I just like to pull things in and out, that I think are funny.
Yeah.
You could smell an act from a mile away.
Man, it's a really weird thing when you get I'm sure you have this happen, but it's like, the moment you get a comic on your podcast and they start trying to be funny and running jokes and stuff, it's weird. It's jarring if they, it's weird.
Well, the worst thing is when they die on you, when it becomes like, first of all, it's me. So, I know everybody because I've been around so long.
Yeah.
So I never had anybody that I didn't know except Jessie May, but she was a special case.
Right.
But, so it's, you don't have to go into your act with me. It's me. I'm over here. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then that gets weird. But it doesn't happen that much. What the worst thing is, what I was going to say, is the yes, no answers, and just being like, I'm thinking, what the fuck happened to your personality? You're up on stage, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about that.
They're scared. You get scared. You start thinking about what other people are thinking about you, and then you get all scrambled.
You can't worry about being funny or not, because just be yourself and it'll come out. The worst thing you can do, I mean, one of the things about podcasts is so great is you have a chance to go, you know what, I don't even agree with myself on that. I'm going to change that.
Just forget the results, man. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, is this book I love. The Bhagavad Gita. It's this Hindu scripture. It's amazing.
I know Siddhartha.
Well, that's by Hesse, Hermann Hesse.
Hermann Hesse.
It's incredible.
Hermann Hesse.
In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse: "You have a right to your action. You do not have a right to the fruits of your action." So the idea is, all you can do is act. Stop thinking about the results and just be in the moment and let whatever comes out of you come out of you. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, well, you've learned a lesson. But the whole point is, the moment you start getting results oriented and the moment you're doing things for a reason, everything tends to fall apart. Like when you're out on a date and you start like running game, you have a plan, you start thinking about your next move, or you look for an opening. And inevitably, you fuck up. You fuck up because you have this weird, fervent, Weasley little look on your face all of a sudden. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're just like a squirrel foraging around. But the moment you just let go and be in the moment with this person and stop objectifying them or turning them into something that you want them to be, that's when it happens. That's when a connection happens.
Yeah.
And then it works out. And it's true for everything. Everything's like that.
Now, was it hard for you going out with a comedian?
What's that?
Was it hard for you going out with a comedian?
Man, it's hard for me going out with anybody. I'm neurotic and scared and weird. I'm getting better at it. But when I was with Natasha, I was like, I mean, to be frank, I was a loser, man. I didn't have any.
What have I done to deserve such a fate? Remember that song?
No, I don't know it, but it's
I'm a Loser by the Beatles.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was, man. I was just not motivated, and I was like, I learned a lot from that. It was good. It taught me a lot, man. But I was just so bleary and like, there's nothing worse than being taken care of by the person you're dating. Like, you know what I mean?
She was taking care of you?
Yeah.
Financially?
Yeah. Like, she would like pay the rent.
That's cool of her.
Well, yeah, it's cool of her,
but I understand the ego.
I feel like, I've learned a lot from it. I
never had a chick that had a job, so that's cool.
You don't want that. It's not. I mean, you do want it, but you don't want it. You have to have a balanced. I don't want to sound. I hope this isn't a misogynistic idea. Some people say it is, but I like buying dinner for girls. I like paying for stuff and buying them stuff, and I like that. It's nice, and I don't like splitting tabs.
No.
You know, that feels so gross when you're on a date with a girl, you know, and suddenly you're splitting the tab.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh, I can't do it.
It's awful, man.
It's very un-Italian.
It's disgusting, and it's really bad. And with Natasha, that's what I learned from Natasha is how not to be, and that's a really great thing to learn. If someone can teach you that, it's a really great gift, you know, because it got me motivated. But so yeah, dating a comic, it can be rough, but no more rough than dating. Dating's hard.
Well, I just think about like if you're at different levels, it could be tough. You know. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, I can remember like when she was going to do the Tonight Show, she wanted me to come. So at the time, I had this. I had this Volvo, this like '89 Volvo, and I'm driving to go see her perform on the Tonight Show. This was towards the end of our relationship. Driving to go see her perform at the Tonight Show. The muffler, as I'm about to turn into the studio, the muffler falls off my car. So it's now dragging behind the car, right? I've assembled some kind of outfit that I think is like formal, but it's just like a shitty suit. I don't remember what I was wearing, just ill-fitting clothes that, you know, like a court suit. I think that's what Natasha called it, a court suit. Like what a redneck wears, has on hand for when they have to go to court. It's like that. So I'm this disheveled person, and then the muffler falls off of my car as I'm pulling into the studio. I mean, Jay Leno probably could see me from his window.
Right.
Like, so all of a sudden I had to take a shoelace off of my shoe and use it to tie the muffler back onto my car, and then pull into the studio. And then I get there, and now there's like grease on my suit from like having to fix the car, you know? And then like I remember Simon Cowell comes out and looks at Natasha and just immediately just starts hitting on her. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, of course. What are you don't belong here. What are you even doing? Like, this is terrible.
I'll be back and I'll be big someday. I'll take all of you down.
Yeah, it was that it was there, but that was a smaller part of the problem. The bigger part of the problem was that I was not working as hard as I needed to be working, and I was coasting and being lazy. And
can't coast in this.
You can't. You shouldn't coast in anything. You know, if you can help it, you should. You never want to end up in somebody's basement sleeping on a mattress playing video games
with your AC/DC T-shirt on and no muscular development. You look like Lazarus. You've never been out in the sun. Close that door. The sun.
Exactly. But on the other hand, I think there is something to be said for going through these dark periods, because it's the dark periods that teach you more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
If you're smart, you're going to learn without the dark periods. The universe is going to teach you no matter what. You know, it's either going to teach you by kicking your ass, or it's going to teach you by showing you successful people, or giving you inspiration. But
one of the first things I ever wrote, I was on an extra on All My Children. You know, All My Children, the soap opera.
Absolutely, my mom was addicted to it.
I was an extra. I played a priest.
Wow.
And I was an under five. You know what under fives are?
No.
Well, it's under 5 lines. You get paid less.
Oh yeah. Okay,
but you get paid more than an extra. But
right.
you're like a talking extra.
Yeah.
And mine was. My line was "Body of Christ, Blood of Christ, Body of Christ," and I remember we started getting the giggles, me and the 2 stars, because I started turning into like, "Body of Christ, Blood of Christ, Body," you know. But what I was going to say was the first thing I ever really wrote was, you talk about turning pain into laughter. I said my father left home when I was in 2nd grade. He never cheated on my mother. He used to cheat on me, pick up other kids after school, take them to the zoo, take them to play ball. And one day he came to me and says, "Look, I got to live with you. I met another kid. The first time in my life I feel like a real father." Right? Now, you know, it's pretty funny, but fucking painful.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, that's where a lot of my pain came from, but hopefully it turned it into something good.
That is one of the most beautiful things about comedy to me, is that it's alchemy. You're taking lead and turning it into gold. It's this lens where you're transforming these things which are so dark into something that is hilarious and healing, and that is magic. Yeah. That's fucking magic, man.
No, you can make jokes almost about anything if you do it right, you know.
Yes, For sure.
Like I learned that any child molestation jokes I have, it always comes back on me. I would never do it about a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? I say there's a joke about, I was never molested as an altar boy, and I used to think, what about me, Father? I'm not hot enough for you. You know what I mean? But like it was about me. I wouldn't do it, But I'm saying I'm not that I'm a magician with words, but I try not to lay it on like a helpless kid or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's an art to it for sure. There's nothing worse when you see a comic who's doing that thing where they're pretending to be edgy and they're just trying to like throw out all this like,
right. Ooh.
Yeah, like wow. You can't. This is one of the great extinctions of our time period is blasphemy. It used to be you could really blaspheme, and now that's kind of gone away, and it's a sad thing. I'm really into Henry Miller right now. You ever read any Henry Miller, Tropic of Cancer?
Yeah, yeah.
God, it's so good. But when, that book was banned, that book came out.
Oh, right. That was a big scandal, that book.
It was a scandal. And so when he was writing this stuff, it wasn't like he was being really brave when he was writing this stuff, because at the time, it truly was like just outside of the realm of what anyone could talk about. One of the lines is, I will shoot hot bolts into you. I will make your ovaries incandescent. That's incredible writing. That's an incredible way to talk about fucking. But his engine behind that was rebellion.
Right.
And that now we've lost that a little bit. That engine of rebellion is gone a little bit, but I think podcast.
Is he still alive?
What's that?
He's not still alive.
I think he's dead.
What years did he write that book?
God, that must have been in the 30s,
right?
right?
Was that long?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a little later than that.
Yeah. I could be wrong, though.
No.
I don't know. He was, I think it was the 30s. But that's like podcasting. It's like, thank God that we do have all these squares parading around on TV, pretending that everything's fine, and they're not going crazy, and they're not snorting blow, and they haven't been getting prostitutes to ram cattle prods into their assholes, which are a lot of people on Fox. That's what's happening, man. I just get that sense, man, when you watch Fox News. But it's good to have that level of oppression that TV can give you the illusion of being oppressed by this, and podcasting can give you a little bit of rebellion or the ability to at least throw out a little bit of blasphemy, but I think we're losing the ability to blaspheme. It's kind of sad.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on the show, but secondly, I want to tell you you'll never be back because you're too smart for this show, quite frankly.
Get the hell out of here.
We don't need some fucking intellectuals coming in here and making the rest of us look dumb. No, I gotta tell you, it was great having you on.
Thanks.
And I hope you come back. Do you have anything you want to plug? What's your Twitter?
Yeah, Duncan Trussell at Twitter, and then I've got a podcast called the Duncan Trussell Family Hour at duncantrussell.com. That's it.
You got a hell of a following too. I saw that. That's great. I'm at Dom Irrera. I'll be at the Stress Factory in New Jersey. You ever work that club?
Mm-mm.
It's fun.
I've heard.
If you ever need anybody to put it away for me, call the old man. I'll get you anywhere.
Thank you, Dom. It's a real honor to be on your show, man. I was so excited when you invited me to come do the show. This is the longest conversation I think we've ever had, so it's really cool. Thanks, man.
You always had to go pick up the other line. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Thank you,
for coming
Dom.
on.
Thank you.
Duncan Trussell, be at the Stress Factory, at Dom Irrera. Thanks for coming. You were great, man.
Thanks, Dom.
Appreciate
it, man. Thank you.